Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live interactive session. I'm Debarshi. I am in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Guwahati. So this is a course that we have offered. It's called Mathematics for Economics, Part 1. And this course, as we have said earlier, this course is about the application of mathematics in economics, right? And the students who are likely to benefit from this course, we expect these students could be engineering students or generally science students, right? Uh, the students who have some background in mathematics will be able to understand this course at a faster rate. They will be able to absorb the course better, right? Because they had some prior training in mathematics. Um, so I'm receiving some questions. Let me see if I can answer that. Sanjay Singh has asked, will there be availability of sample questions and sample papers for practice for exams? Well, Sanjay, I don't think there will be separate sample questions and sample papers, uh, but uh, we have formulated lots of assignments. Okay, so these assignments you can practice them. Uh, so I think so far we have recorded 5 videos. 5 means 1 hour, one video. That means 5 hours of assignments, just for assignment, just for practices. So what you can do, I'll suggest, is that we go through those videos, just look at the questions and try to see if you can solve them on your own. If you can solve them on your own, then well and good. But whether you have solved it correctly or not, that you can check from the videos itself, because I have discussed the answers also in the videos. So that could be, I think, very helpful for the students who want to do some practice. Sanjay has also asked, when will the exams be held after the course is finished? I think it will be held sometimes in November. I'm not sure. I have to check that schedule. So after all the videos are uploaded, then I think the exams will be held. Also, which is the best book for absolute beginners, which you mentioned? That I think I have said in the course itself. Let me share you the screen where I have talked about the um, references. Just give me 1 minute. Oh, yeah, let me share the screen so that you can see. Okay, so these are the references. These are the books that I have referred. Okay, this is in the full screen mode, I think, so that you can have a good look at the references. Sitsetter and Hammond, Mathematics for Economic Analysis. Alpha Sichiang, Fundamental Methods of Mathematical Economics. And so these first two are the basic texts. So even if you did not have any background in mathematics in your +2, I think you'll be able to pick up from these books. Okay, so let me repeat that. If you didn't have any mathematics in your 11th, 12th, even then, by reading these two books, the first two books, you'll be able to pick up. The third book is a little bit advanced, so that is not for absolute beginners. Okay. You gave 3. I did not understand what you meant by you gave 3. Okay, the exams will be held on 23rd of October 2021. Let me see if I have got some questions um, from other viewers. There's a question from Shobhan Das. Why study mathematical economics? Well, I think the reason why one should study mathematical economics, I think this question can be, divided into two parts. One is why study economics at all? Okay, and the other is if you have decided that you will study economics, then why study mathematical economics? Okay, so there are two parts, I think, to this question: why study mathematical economics? Well, why study economics at all? On that, I think. Just a minute, my camera. I should switch on the camera. Just a minute. Yeah, why study economics at all? On that question, there could be multiple answers. I mean, think about your surrounding, right? People are going to the market, they're buying goods and services, right? They're buying ice cream, or they might be buying potato chips, okay? Or they might be spending money on a pizza or cold drinks. So all these things are economic decisions: purchase of goods, consumption of goods, spending money. So all these are economic decisions. Uh, so we in economics we study how these decisions are made. Not only that, think about the fact that some people get employed, right? So what kind of job people take up? Uh, and to get a job, you have to train yourself, you have to get educated, right? So those questions also, why some people choose certain jobs, why people to take up this education vis-a-vis some other education, how many years of education people will actually go through. These questions also come under the purview of economics, because there must be some calculation going on in people's head when they make these decisions. Or think about the fact that in today's India, the economy is not in a very good shape because of pandemic and other things. So how can such crises hit a particular economy? How it can affect livelihood, right? Chances of people's getting employment. These are very important questions. Whether you'll get any employment at all, right? And how to avert the crises like this. What can the government do? All these things come under the purview of economics. Um, Now, the second question is why mathematical economics? Well, a large part of economics actually deals with numbers, right? And as if you go through this course, you'll find that in fact there are plenty of applications of quantitative variables in economics. So that is dealt with in mathematical economics, where we deal with numbers while discussing economics. Okay, so I think I have answered that question: why study mathematical economics at all? So basically, what I've tried to say is that overall, in our social life, we often encounter questions related to economics. That is number one. So there is no. So how to deal with the quantitative variables through mathematics. I will pick up another question from here, which has come to us. When will the second part of Mathematics for Economics 2 be released? What all would be incorporated in the curriculum? Yeah, that's an important question, I think. When will be the second part be, prepared? Frankly, I don't know. Okay, I don't know because the whole process of proposing a course and then get it passed by the governing body, because this whole thing is not happening in an spontaneous manner. There are some people who are in charge of the administration. They look after the quality control, right? So once I make a proposal for a new course, it has to go through several layers of bureaucracy and monitoring. So it will take some time, and I have not yet decided when to offer this course at all. So I'm not sure when exactly, but maybe in some future time. A second part of this question was what will be included in the curriculum? Yes. What all would would it incorporate? Well, what all it would incorporate, the second part, that's, I think, is a very interesting question. Interesting because so far what I have dealt with in this part one is the basic, the foundational. We only talked about functions of one variable, for example. Okay, when we did optimization, it was a simple optimization of a single variable. But there are many ways in which it can be taken forward. Okay, it can taken it can be taken to an advanced level. So one can think about functions of multiple variables. Right, we talked about partial derivatives in this course, but what is the application of partial derivatives? Okay, and if you have a function of multiple variables, then how do you optimize that? How to find the maximum or minimum of that function? So those things one can deal with actually. And another direction the course can go forward is to talk about differential equations. In this course, we talked about difference equations, but not differential equations. But differential equations are a very important part of mathematical economics. So differential equations can be included in the second part. Just to remind you, the difference between difference equations and differential equations is that in difference equations that we have dealt with in this course, the time is taken to be discrete. Okay, time is changing from one period to the next. There is no 0.05 time. It is either 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. It takes only the integral values. But if if one can subdivide the variable into smaller parts, then one can think about differential equations. And in fact, one will have a lot of applications of differential equations in economics. So that is another way in which the course can be taken forward to the next level. The other ways in which it can be done is to talk about different kinds of optimization. In this course, we talked about unrestrained optimization, unconstrained optimizations. But suppose you want to find the maximum or minimum of a function, but at the same time you want to, uh, satisfy some constraint. It can be an equality constraint. It can be an inequality constraint. So in those cases, how do we do it, right? So there has to be some new mathematical technique for solving such problems. So those things are important. These things actually come in undergraduate economics courses, honors, so economics courses. So if you are doing, let us say, BA honors in economics from any standard university, let us say Delhi University or University of Calcutta or our own Guwahati University, then those things, this optimization with multiple variables, with constraint, without constraint, those things are taught to the students in the undergraduate level itself. So those elements can be incorporated in the part two. But as I told you, I have not thought very concretely about it. So that has to be dealt with. Is there any other questions, the viewers? If you are watching, if you are interested to post any questions, you can post your questions now. If you have any. So, by the way, about the course itself, since this interactive sessions are going to be in future also, all right? In September also, in October also, we are going to have some interactive sessions. So if you have some specific questions about the course, like the videos that we have uploaded, then please post only those questions which are related to the first 3 weeks, okay, in this session. So I will invite questions for the latter weeks in the latter interactive sessions. So if you want to ask some specific questions from the course content, then please restrict your questions to only the first 3 weeks of this course. So just to remind what we covered in the first 3 weeks, in the first 3 weeks we covered real number system, logic, mathematical proof. This was, I think, the first week. In the second week, we covered sets and set operations. And in the third week, we covered functions of one variable, graph of functions, and types of functions. So if you want to pose any questions in this interactive sessions, please restrict your questions to these three set of topics that I have just mentioned now. Just give me 1 minute. I'll drink some water and come back. So just to remind you what we have covered in these 3 weeks, uh, let me show you the screen so that you can see it more clearly. So, so these are the topics that I was telling you about that we have covered in the first 3 weeks. Real number system, logic, mathematical proof. So it means that in this first week we covered the real number line, how to think about rational numbers, irrational numbers, natural numbers, the difference between these definitions. Then we talked about mathematical logic, right? Uh, what is the difference between the necessary condition and the sufficient condition when two statements are logically equivalent? Those things we talked about in this mathematical logic. And then we talked about mathematical proof. There are different ways to prove something, right? We talked about proof by contradiction, direct proof, indirect proof. Those things we talked about. We also talked about the difference between the inductive and the deductive reasoning, right? And we said that it is the deductive reasoning is uh, that is going to be used in this course, not the inductive reasoning. So that was, I think, the first week. And in the second week, we talked about sets. Sets, what are sets? And so it's basically a collection of elements with some common property. So there are going to be multiple elements of a set, but a set can be an empty set also, but that's an exception. We talked about set operations. We talked about the union of sets, intersection of sets, subsets of sets, right? Those are the things we talked about, and I think some applications were also done in this second week. In the third week, we talked about a very important thing. We introduced functions, right? We said that basically a function is a rule between two sets. So you pick up an element of the first set. The first set is called the domain. The function will give you an unique element from the second set, right? That is how a function works. The second set is, by the way, is called the target, but not all elements of the target might be mapped into from the domain. So that set in the target, uh, that set to which all the elements from the first set are mapped into is called the range. So those are the definitions that we gave. We also talked about Cartesian planes and talked about different kinds of functions, graphs of functions. We talked about the difference between equations and functions. So graphs of equations, if you take any arbitrary graph of an equation, then that graph is not necessarily the graph of a function. Okay. For example, think about the equation of a circle. Now that graph does not represent the graph of any function. And we talked about types of function, linear, quadratic, cubic, polynomial functions. I think we also covered exponential functions here. And we talked about the different applications, how these functions are used in economics. Okay, so these are some of the things we covered in the first week. If you have any questions, Regarding these, you can very well ask me. Let me wait for another couple of minutes, and then if no other question is asked, then we can call it a day. Okay, I think we can wrap it up for today. If you are feeling shy and that's why you're not asking, then please do not feel shy in the next live session. I'll be there. I think that will be in September, sometime in September. So do attend the live sessions for clarificatory purpose. If you have taken this course, credited this course, then for it is your own benefit that you should clarify your doubts, right? This interactive session is meant for only your clarification. All right. So do not hesitate to ask questions in the live sessions. And thank you for joining this session if you have joined. And obviously, I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.